What would you do if you found spies in your country? Would you expose them to the world or quietly eliminate them? You can imagine how angry a local would feel toward the spies. So just think about what must be going through a leader's mind in a situation like this. So, how far would a leader like Ibrahim Traoré go to protect Burkina Faso from foreign infiltration? These spies are part of a larger plot destabilizing the Sahel region, and their arrest is just the beginning of a much darker secret. Will Traoré's harsh judgment send a message to the West that they'll never forget? Or will he forgive? Let's find out. Burkina Faso's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, has arrested 4 French spies, shaking the political scene and raising questions about Western interference in African sovereignty. The French government denies the accusations, but Traoré has clarified his stance with an iron-fisted response. This bold move isn't just about espionage, it's about the larger fight for Africa's independence from former colonial powers. But would a leader like Traoré risk international backlash by arresting French spies?
With the dark intention to attack the institutions of the Republic and plunge the country into chaos. Tuesday evening, thousands of people took to the streets of the capital Ouagadougou, following a call from Traoré supporters to defend him.
Ibrahim Traoré didn't make this decision lightly. Arresting French agents is no small feat, and Traoré knew the weight of this action. The 4 spies were reportedly caught with sensitive information regarding Burkina Faso's internal security, information that could be used to destabilize the country. Traoré, who took over the leadership in 2022 following a coup, has been on a mission to protect his country's sovereignty at all costs. To understand why he took such a bold step, one has to look at the bigger picture. France has long maintained an interest in Burkina Faso, veiling its interventions under the banner of security cooperation. But in reality, these soldiers and advisors have served as instruments of control, ensuring that the political and economic climate of the country aligns with French interests. Traoré saw through this facade. By arresting these spies, he wasn't just dealing with a security breach. He was sending a message to France and the entire Western world. He is reclaiming Burkina Faso's right to self-governance and making it clear that the days of Western meddling are over. The arrest wasn't just an isolated incident, it was a calculated move that reflects Traoré's broader vision for Burkina Faso's future, a future free from foreign interference. Expanding further, we must consider Traoré's motivations. As a young, ambitious military leader, he's in a position to shape the future of Burkina Faso in ways no one else could. His decision to publicly confront France reflects his desire not just to protect his country, but to cement his legacy as the leader who finally severed the colonial chains. In his eyes, France's ongoing involvement is nothing short of a continuation of colonialism, and he is determined to put an end to it. But Traoré's arrest of these spies opens up a broader question about France's motives in Africa. Why is France so determined to keep a foothold in its former colonies, and what does this say about their broader agenda? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. France's involvement in Burkina Faso goes beyond mere historical ties. It's about maintaining a strategic grip on Africa. The Sahel region where Burkina Faso is located is crucial not only for its rich natural resources, but also for its geostrategic importance. France's ongoing military presence is framed as a fight against terrorism. But is that the case? The truth is far more complex. Behind the narrative of security cooperation lies an economic motive. Burkina Faso is a gold-rich nation, and France has long benefited from the extraction of minerals in the region. By embedding spies and military personnel, France ensures that its interests in the mining sector are safeguarded. Moreover, controlling Burkina Faso allows France to keep a foot in the door of the Sahel, a region that's becoming increasingly vital in global geopolitics. But let's not be naive. France's influence in Burkina Faso is also about maintaining power over the region's politics. Through covert operations, espionage, and diplomacy, France has managed to sway political decisions in their favor. They've manipulated local governments, ensured that pro-French leaders remain in power, and undermine those who pose a threat to their control. This isn't just speculation. We have seen similar patterns of interference in Mali, Niger, and other former French colonies. France's reluctance to let go of its former empire has caused continuous friction across West Africa. The recent expulsions of French diplomats and soldiers from Mali are just another chapter in this ongoing saga. Furthermore, France's continued influence in Burkina Faso is a reminder of the larger neo-colonial structure that exists in Africa. The term France-Afrique has long been used to describe France's unofficial control over its former colonies. While the colonial era may have ended in the 20th century, the mechanisms of control, through military bases, economic agreements, and covert operations, are very much alive. To understand this deeper, let's bring in the perspectives of other African leaders and experts. Leaders like Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary figure, had long warned about the dangers of Western influence. He called for total independence from former colonial powers, emphasizing self-reliance and unity within Africa. Traoré is, in many ways, walking in Sankara's footsteps, and his decision to arrest the spies can be seen as a continuation of that vision. On the international stage, many critics of France's actions in Africa have pointed out that their so-called security initiatives are just a smokescreen for resource extraction and political manipulation. African political analysts like Amadou Ba argue that France's fear is not terrorism. It's the loss of influence as African nations start to align more with other powers, such as Russia and China. So, with France's deep-rooted interests exposed, the next question is, how will Traoré handle the aftermath of these arrests? Will he be able to maintain Burkina Faso's sovereignty without provoking further retaliation from France? The world waits with bated breath to see what kind of punishment Ibrahim Traoré will pass on these spies. Traoré has already set a precedent by standing up to France, but the real question is how far he's willing to go. Will he imprison the spies for life, or could there be harsher penalties on the table? If Traoré opts for a severe judgment, it would send shockwaves not only through Burkina Faso, but across Africa. It would mark the moment when an African leader unequivocally defied Western powers in the face of espionage, a bold move that could inspire others across the continent. Nations like Mali, which have also distanced themselves from France, would likely rally behind Traoré, seeing his actions as part of a larger movement for African independence. But a harsh judgment could also provoke retaliation. France won't sit idly by if their spies are handed long sentences or worse. Economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, or even covert operations to destabilize Traoré's government are very real possibilities. Traoré knows this, but he also knows that any sign of leniency would be seen as a weakness, emboldening France to continue its covert operations. Beyond Burkina Faso, Traoré's judgment could have far-reaching implications. African leaders are watching this situation closely. If Traoré succeeds in standing up to France without facing severe repercussions, it could inspire a domino effect across the continent. Other countries struggling with Western interference might see this as a signal that they too can take back control of their sovereignty. African unity is something that leaders like Traoré and Mali's Assimi Goïta have been advocating for. The continent has long been divided, often at the behest of Western powers who prefer to deal with fractured, weaker states. A strong, unified African response to Western espionage and interference could shift the balance of power in ways we haven't seen since the days of Pan-Africanism. But while Traoré's judgment is critical, the world is also wondering how France will react. France finds itself in a precarious position. They've already lost ground in countries like Mali, and now Burkina Faso is slipping from their grasp. The arrest of these spies isn't just an isolated event, it's a direct challenge to France's continued involvement in the region. If they don't respond, it could signal to other African nations that France's influence is waning. But retaliating could backfire and further isolate them in Africa. Historically, France has been quick to respond to threats against its interests in Africa. From military interventions to economic sanctions, they've always been willing to flex their power to maintain control. But the dynamics are shifting. African nations are no longer willing to be passive players in the geopolitical game. With Russia and China increasingly stepping in to offer alternative partnerships, France can no longer act with impunity. If France decides to retaliate, they have several options on the table. Economic sanctions would be the most likely first step. By cutting off aid or trade agreements, France could try to squeeze Burkina Faso's economy, making it difficult for Traoré to govern. They might also push for diplomatic isolation, rallying Western allies to ostracize Burkina Faso in international forums. Another possibility is covert operations. France has a long history of supporting insurgencies and rebellions in countries where their influence is threatened. Could they secretly back internal dissidents or support a coup to remove Traoré? It wouldn't be the first time. However, these actions come with risks. Burkina Faso's leadership is well aware of France's playbook, and any overt or covert attempts to destabilize the country would likely be met with a fierce response. Additionally, the African public is becoming more politically aware and resentful of Western meddling. France's heavy-handed tactics could backfire, turning more of the African population against them. On the other hand, France might decide that the cost of retaliation is too high. After all, they're already stretched thin in the Sahel, and Burkina Faso's defiance might be a sign of things to come. More African nations are questioning the benefits of French involvement, and public sentiment is increasingly anti-French. A retreat would allow France to focus on stabilizing their remaining allies in the region while avoiding further diplomatic fallout. It's possible that France could reframe their withdrawal as a strategic recalibration, allowing them to save face while acknowledging that their influence in Burkina Faso is all but over. The fallout from this situation could also have a significant impact on French domestic politics. President Emmanuel Macron has already faced criticism for France's handling of its relationships with African nations. Some see the country's continued involvement in its former colonies as a relic of the past, while others argue that France needs to maintain a strong presence in Africa to protect its geopolitical interests. Macron's response to Traoré's bold actions could either bolster or weaken his position domestically. If he's seen as too weak, his critics may accuse him of allowing France's global influence to diminish. However, if he retaliates harshly and it backfires, he could face further backlash for escalating tensions in a region where France's presence is increasingly unwelcome. Whether France retaliates or retreats, the implications for African sovereignty are profound. The real question now is, can Traoré's actions inspire a new wave of resistance against neo-colonialism across the continent? What we're witnessing in Burkina Faso isn't just about one leader defying a former colonial power, it's part of a much larger movement sweeping across Africa. Ibrahim Traoré's arrest of French spies and his harsh stance against Western meddling echoes the sentiments of many African nations that are tired of being pawns in the global game of geopolitics. This could very well be the dawn of a new African resistance. Over the past few years, there has been a noticeable shift in the political climate across Africa. Leaders in countries like Mali, Guinea, and Niger have made it clear that they are no longer willing to accept the status quo. The old system, in which former colonial powers like France pull the strings from behind the scenes, is being challenged in ways that haven't been seen since the days of Pan-Africanism. Traoré's actions resonate with a younger generation of Africans who are increasingly aware of the lingering effects of colonialism. They see leaders like Traoré as heroes who are willing to stand up to Western powers, and they view the arrest of the French spies as a powerful symbol of defiance. The question is, can this moment translate into a broader, sustained movement across the continent?
Nous avons lancé cela et je vous invite à souscrire massivement parce que nous allons créer nos entreprises ici sur place et développer. Certes, des esprits impérialistes pourront essayer de vous détourner de l'objectif, mais écoutez, visez loin, visez très loin, réfléchissez et voyez ce qu'on va faire. Parce que le combat que nous menons, ce n'est pas uniquement pour le Burkina Faso, mais c'est un combat pour toute l'Afrique.
Pan-Africanism has always been about the unification of Africa against external control. And in many ways, Traoré's actions embody that spirit. By confronting France head-on, he's signaling that Burkina Faso is ready to take control of its destiny. But to truly make a difference, this sentiment must spread beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Other African leaders will need to join Traoré in rejecting neo-colonial influence, and they'll need to build new alliances that prioritize African sovereignty. Russia and China's increasing presence in Africa offers an alternative to Western influence, but this too comes with its own set of challenges. African nations will need to be careful not to trade one form of dependency for another. The goal must be true independence, with African nations working together to build economic and political structures that serve their interests, not those of foreign powers. In addition to political leadership, grassroots movements across Africa are playing a crucial role in this new wave of resistance. Young Africans are more connected and informed than ever before, thanks to social media and the internet. They are demanding more from their governments, pushing for transparency, and calling out Western nations for their continued interference. The arrest of the French spies could serve as a rallying point for these movements. It's a clear example of Western powers being held accountable for their actions, and it sends a message that African nations can and should take control of their futures. But for this to happen, the momentum needs to be sustained. Traoré's actions are bold, but they can't exist in isolation. If other African nations don't follow suit, the risk is that this moment will be seen as a temporary rebellion, rather than the start of a broader movement. To sum this up, Burkina Faso's arrest of French spies and Ibrahim Traoré's uncompromising stance against Western interference mark a pivotal moment in Africa's ongoing struggle for independence. This isn't just about espionage, it's about reclaiming sovereignty and rejecting the legacy of colonialism. Whether this leads to a new era of Pan-African resistance or remains a flashpoint in Burkina Faso's history will depend on the actions of African leaders and the will of the people. So, now that Ibrahim Traoré has arrested the spies, what does this mean for Burkina Faso's future? Will France finally back down, or are we on the verge of an even bigger confrontation? Let us know in the comment section. Could this harsh judgment send a ripple through Africa, inspiring other leaders to rise against the West? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.